The Senate has recently passed a resolution urging the federal government to immediately terminate any plans to increase electricity tariff in Nigeria. The senators expressed their concern that the proposed increase in tariff and the removal of subsidies is not a viable solution to the challenges facing the power sector. Rather, the government should focus on improving electricity generation and distribution to provide better services to the citizens. In light of this development, the Senate has mandated the Senator Iyinaya Baribe-led Committee on Power to investigate the 2 trillion naira required for electricity tariff, as stated by the Minister of Power, Bayo Adelabu. We have details in this report.
Are getting impatient with the rising cost of living and harsh economic conditions Nigerians face on a daily basis. The recent statement by Nigeria's power minister to review the cost of electricity tariff over the 2 trillion naira subsidy requirements has raised fresh concerns among the lawmakers. The lawmakers say the government should be sensitive to the prevailing economic hardship rather than add to their sufferings.
The prospect of the new Electricity Act 2023 of ensuring accurate electricity charges will be negated if these costs are not investigated to ascertain the current statistical data on the omitted customers, poor provision of electricity services despite exorbitant tariff and regulatory role of the NERC, which leave much to be desired.
Most of the problems that we're having today, especially in the manufacturing sector of the economy, is as a result of low power. And many organizations and companies are relocating from Nigeria simply because they don't have energy to drive their organizations.
In view of what Nigerians are passing through economically today, we should not be talking of increasing electricity tariff. And I want to use this medium to call on the power holding companies across the nation to keep to their promises of giving Nigerians prepaid meters. They should stop this idea of estimated bills. They are doing this to Nigerians, and I see it as an intimidation.
They urge the federal government to halt any proposed hike in electricity tariff. The Nigerian Senate also directed its Committee on Power to investigate claims made by the minister.
They had the Minister of Power talking about subsidy and requiring 2 trillion. And then, of course, also making statements and allusions to the fact that it requires 1.3 trillion naira to pay generating gencos, and also $1.3 billion to pay gas companies. And the request of the mover of the motion is that the Committee on Power should immediately swing into action and investigate these allusions.
In a similar development, the deputy leader, Senator Oyelola Ashiru, also asked the Senate to intervene in the recent hike in cement. TJ Suaduri, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, joining us via Zoom to discuss this development is an energy consultant and public affairs analyst, Olusegun Okwade. Sheson, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Veronica, and good morning to all our viewers across the globe this morning.
Right. Now, although the Senate is rejecting this matter of the removal of electricity subsidy, there are those who are for the removal because they say that government is subsidizing darkness, because a lot of Nigerians are not actually having that supply as it is. But where do you stand on this divide, for or against?
Okay, thank you very much. Before I take my position, I think we need to just put little clarity, knowing fully well that that's a sector I play a key role in. First and foremost, there are salient questions we've actually put to NEC and the people, the handlers, to first and foremost be transparent in the cost of electricity to the end users. That we have not been able to speak to it. And the issue of we coming up with subsidy, we have asked. if we don't know the cost of kilowatts that we are paying for, it may be difficult to actually convince the people. And with the current minister being a financial person, I was thinking that that would be the first area of call to bring out the figures for us to convincingly say that the government is actually subsidizing electricity. If I come from the other side, you and I observed that in 2013, this was actually taken from the ends of government and stated in the end of private sector. Mm-hmm. But you asked me, how far have we gone with the development in the power sector? We have not moved in any leap because majority of the investment that is expected of the private sector that bought into that area were not yielding the necessary dividend. In the area that the GENCO that was able to generate more has not moved from where we used to be years back, above 3,000 megawatts. Neither have we been able to improve on the transmission, not to talk of the distribution, been able to have deliverables. So there is so much complexity in the sector as we speak, because the actual cost of the energy is not known to the consumer. But you said you are subsidizing it. Like we have in the petroleum sector, we're able to say this is the landing cost of petroleum. What is the actual cost of generating, transmitting, and getting to the end user? It's on that premise you can now say this is what we are charging, and this is the subsidized rate that we want to take out. So that's where the problem is, because there seems not to be too much of clarity on the actual cost, and it's only the cost of sales that we know, and that's where the problem lies.
In that regard, so sorry to cut in. So then, where do you stand then, despite all of these issues and myriad of challenges that you have reeled out? Where do you still stand, despite the fact that we do not know exactly what the cost of the subsidy or electricity as it is might be?
Yeah, well, where I stand is, as we speak, I don't think the part of removal of subsidy is the way to go, because any hike in the cost of this will actually compound the problem that we have currently, in as much as we know that so much investment is still being required by the investor. But considering the current economic hardship being faced by the citizen, I think the subsidy should continue if there is any existing, because we might be facing the same problem we faced with the petroleum. Because the removal of the subsidy is where is what has brought us to where we are today. So I'm on the part that if exists any subsidy on the electricity, it should still be subsidized pending when there will be relief on the citizen of the country.
Well, that's more like catch-22, because you postulated that. I mean, you actually thought about the issue of whether there's subsidy or not. You were like, okay, we are not exactly sure how they are calculating this subsidy that they are paying on our behalf. And Nigeria said, well, we don't have enough money to be paying this subsidy. But all the same, others have argued that subsidy for electricity is not sustainable, and they advanced the argument saying that the only solution that they feel is we should have full liberalization of the power sector. Where do you stand? Or do you feel that's the only country's the only leeway for the country to get out of this quagmire?
Yeah, Shita, I will first say that if you look at the distribution arm of the sector, a lot is actually going wrong. I'm sure you read in the dailies 2 days ago when we have an express approval of the State House trying to pay their bills after a threat by the distribution company managing them. You discover that a lot of customers are actually not fulfilling their obligation. And the discourse on their parts, even though they claim that they've installed so much prepaid meter, how much of monitoring are they actually carrying out? a lot of bypasses are there, which is actually creating losses on their part. I will state categorically that if some of the MDAs, the government agencies, even make their own contribution in fulfilling their payments to some of these discounts, there will be a little liquidity for them to run their businesses. And also, you discover that the current foreign exchange is also impacting. We have been an advocate of saying that we want a situation where prepaid meter will be made available. But as we speak currently, not too long ago, there was increase in the price of meter, and the NEC is considering increasing it again because the foreign exchange of bringing in the meters for availability of the customer is really not sustainable any longer. So you discover that the policy outside even the power sector is impacting on the power sector themselves. And that's why we say government must have an holistic view of making sure that our foreign exchange, of which we know the majority of the things that we make use of in the power sector are actually being imported into the country, needs to regulate it and give a good leverage in such those infrastructure must definitely be affordable for the business investors so that we can move on and have good electricity. There is serious complexity in the sector as we speak. Most especially, you hear the minister saying that even to pay for gas has been on the negative side, which is really not tenable by the citizens. So we need to find a lasting solution in making sure that the foreign exchange is stable in such a way that the average businessman can plan for some of the things that will make use of in the power sector, and the citizen can definitely benefit from them.
Right. Now, my question is the role of the Regulatory Commission, Electricity Regulatory Commission, to ensuring some level of clarity and transparency with regards to this matter of costing, this matter of metering, ensuring that we can achieve something, we can get something tangible, because that has also been brought to the fore, what the Regulatory Commission is actually doing to ensure that we do not have these complexities.
Yeah, well, a lot of us too have actually been taking up the regulators, I mean NEC, because much is expected from them. The area of transparency in the cost of electricity seems to be on their should be their purview, because you are the intermediary, you are the regulators on whom the consumer relies on for good service delivery. I'm sure you know that at the time the regulators actually came up to say, if you are not metering a customer, there is a cap expected of the disco to pay. But we heard last week of so much overestimated billing running into billions of naira that they came out to say, how do you intend to recoup back such funds that they have said the disco has actually overbilled the customer? I feel that the regulators need to brace up. We have so much gap in terms of metering. They are trying their best, but we feel that their best is not good enough. If you liberalize the system, a lot of investors will come in, but will the average citizen be able to afford the system? There is something for us to have the availability. There's another thing for us to afford it. As we are telling you, people will tell you that the petroleum is available, but is it affordable? The answer is no. You must be able to balance the two, and I feel that is the key role of the regulators in giving the confidence for the citizen, so that the business angle of it, which the discos or the TCN or the GENCO.
So why are they holding back?
Well, I cannot speak for them, but we are not getting the necessary response that is expected of them. This issue of subsidy, there should be a position paper from NEC to tell you that, okay, indeed, subsidy exceeds. This is the cost of generation, this is the cost of transmission, and this is the cost at which the discos are billing, so we can see the gap. But we are not having that figure. Even for us in the sector, we cannot speak to that. We are only hearing that subsidy is being paid, but how much of it are we actually paying? We cannot account for it. So NERC is actually to be held accountable for this as the regulator, and we expect so much from them so that we can move forward. The citizens are ready if they can see the transparency in the operation.
Interesting stuff. I was just going to ask about the sanction on the discos, the 10.9 billion naira sanction on them, for overbilling 8 million Nigerians, about 8 million Nigerians. But the fear is that they might transfer this payment, if they are meant to pay these sanctions anyway, to the consumers. They might just share it over them and then make the consumers pay, which invariably will increase the price of electricity tariff that will be paying. But others are saying that this sanction is the way to go because it's a step towards improving transparency, accountability in the sector. Plus, I would like you to talk to us about how you think the government can ensure that effective implementation of these sanctions to bring about positive change and fair treatment to customers.
Shita, I would say that I'm not an advocate saying that you want to sanction when you have not put in the right mechanism for things to go the right path. When they cut the issue of estimated billing because of metering gap, the question we put back to them is how much are you enabling the business venture? We've gone the route of cap mill, we've got the route of MAP. But an average meter asset provider is struggling to bring in the necessary meters that is expected to close the gap because the cost is really not affordable. They are actually struggling to get some of this thing in. I remember the cost at which some of these meters are is still static, but the cost of foreign exchange has increased it. What is the regulators doing? Speaking to government, possibly to give a leeway in such a way that an average map that is bringing in those meters have a safe landing, having access to possibly a differential foreign exchange to release the cost of the meter. What you don't measure, you cannot quantify it. And that's where the problem lies. A lot of energy are actually being lost by the distribution company, which they can't account for because of the metering gap. And that's why we have emphasis that the regulator must speak to the government in such a way that they can give the meter asset providers a safe landing in bringing some of this meter in, so that when you have enough metering, then you can account for what you're actually doing. Without enough metering, we might still be having a lot of losses on the part of distribution company and will not be going far on delivery as expected.
Right. So I like the fact that you are, calling out NERC as it is now to step up the plate and do what is needful. But let's look at the matter of solution. Nigeria has a huge deposit of gas, yet we keep complaining with regards to shortage of gas supply in terms of distribution and energy across the country, because what Nigerians, a majority of Nigerians are facing right now is darkness. Talk to us about this situation. It's quite ironic, but how did we even get to this point? We have huge deposits, yet we cannot access it to generate electricity.
First and foremost, I think it's an act of indiscipline on the interrelation between the agencies. I remember during the last administration, there was an understanding, a memorandum of understanding with the gas companies, because we saw a little of stability in power supply there. But I keep asking myself, what suddenly changed with the entrance of the new administration that it has gotten to the level that with other $10 billion as claim being owned to this gas company, they have decided to withdraw their services. I want to believe that our handlers needs to be sincere in some of the things that they relate out to us. If you are flaring the gas, I believe the Minister for Gas Resources gave their commitment of so much that they are doing, how much handshake are we having with the power sector, knowing that it's of great input to the economic growth? This is where the president needs to come in to ask questions on the interrelationship between the two ministries. If the gas are actually being fed, we have so much quantity, but we are not utilizing it locally. Are we giving it out to sell and make more money while the citizens are being impoverished? This is an area we need to speak to. The two departments seem not to be working hand in sync. If there are debts to be paid, it's still the same government. How can you have an agreement in such a way that you enhance the best of it to give the citizen what they want? If there are availability and you intend to increase it, and people can see the transparency in it, I can tell you that people will pay. But there seems to be a disconnect between the two ministries, and that is what is giving us so much problem. Because if you claim that we have so much gas that we are flaring, and the power that are being powered by the gas are not available, is a problem. Knowing fully well that we are just living the dry season. So we plead that if we can have a solution in such a way that we can have more gas supply, and we want to thank God at least rain is coming up now. The hydro can have more water that will not give us more generation. We can have the stability, but I think there must be a good collaboration between the gas resources agency and the power supply in order to harness the best out of this.
Very quickly, I wanted to address the issue of the AEDC, which sent a notice, actually made it a broadcast, that government ministries, departments, and agencies, having outstanding debt balances at December 2023. Asura Villa already, the president had directed that they should pay that. But you see, it's very funny that the Ministry of Power is also captured in those who are having this outstanding. And Nigerians are saying, come on, if all these ministries who are in charge are owing electricity payment, how much more those of us, the citizens who are struggling to pay this tariff, this bill, why should they come to us to say they want to disconnect our power? Even the highest the highest ministry that is owing, the ministry that is owing the highest is the Chief of Defense Staff, Barracks, and Military Formations. And you know what that is. You can't go there to say you want to disconnect. Quickly react to this.
Thank you very much, Shita. I have this to say that that is the failure of leadership. You call parts as leaders. What we have expected from them, when I saw the headline that AEDC was actually threatening to shut down the State House, it caught me a bit that a monthly obligation of the government is actually being owed for as long as an issue of threat is something that is really not encouraging. If you cannot lead by example, the work becomes of us, the followers, for us to carry out. I can tell you for free, when it comes to the ministry that you said is having the highest, I'm sure you know that everybody wants to protect their lives. Well, I can see a few of them that are actually working in line with some of these things. You know, I've been on this platform speaking to the issue of submetering. I can tell you that the police force, there are some barracks now that what they have done is to go on the route of submetering. What they did is that we are getting bulk payment from the disco. Every officers are now metered and they are paying their bills for them to be able to augment their payment to that. A lot of that is going on in Lagos because I provide some of those services to them. And I think that is the area that the military needs to go as we speak. Majority of their quarters, they are just consuming some of these things for free. Let's meter them. Let them pay what is expected so that you can augment that which you'll be paying even to the disco. It sounds an act of indiscipline for the so-called leader to fail in meeting their obligation to the disco, and you expect with the follower to comply by paying as at when due. Okay. It's really not really good. But I feel that that's the route to go to ease the burden.
We need to wrap up this conversation now. Our time is up. Thank you so much, Olusegun Okwade, energy consultant and public affairs analyst, for your time on the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me, and I wish you the very best of the day.